There was a moment I lost everything I ever worked for. Embrace it and prosper. Or Sapa will finish you. It's nice to have you here, my barrister. Can you kindly introduce yourself, sir?
You're welcome. I'm Ernest Okpunwa Esquire. I'm a Nigerian. I'm a legal practitioner by
That's
God's
very good.
grace, and I'm based here in Abuja for my legal practice.
That's very good. How long have you been in the bar, my barrister?
Uh, I'm 11 years post-call,
Hmm.
having been called to bar in the year 2011. So I've been standing as a lawyer since that time.
That's amazing. So, how have your experience been in the bar, sir?
Well, William Shakespeare would say it's a holy body. It's full of ups and downs,
Down.
just like every aspect of life. So some moments it could go fine, some moments things could not go as expected. There's always gap between expectation and realization. But then every aspect of life is always of that. So in legal practice, I've not been in regret. I've been pushing. In litigation, I'm there. In corporate world, I'm there. In estate management,
Yeah,
you understand? And I also lecture. I'm a tutor. In fact, that is my primary responsibility. So it has been fine so far.
My barrister, what qualities are essential in becoming a successful lawyer?
Thank you. Well, the first thing you've got to know is that law is a professional course. It's a noble course,
Yeah.
and so it's not all commerce affair. In that regard, for you to succeed in law, one, you must have good command of the English language. English language is the official language in Nigeria, both in court, both in legislative houses. So a lawyer should be proficient in English language.
Sure.
Even for you to secure admission to study law in Nigeria, you must have at least credit in the English language and also credit in English literature. So
Yes.
that emphasizes the importance of English in legal training. Yeah. So a lawyer must also be research driven and analytically minded. Yes, the law is in the book. The law is not in the shop.
So you need to be conversant with the
You
law.
must open the books. In fact, the day a lawyer stops reading, the lawyer is dead. So you must be a researcher. You must know because life itself is dynamic, and law mirrors life. Law follows life. So whenever there is any breakthrough in science and technology, there must be a legal framework to complement that. And so since life is dynamic, a lawyer should also be dynamic. A lawyer must be reading. A lawyer must be researching in order to be in tune with the trends of things in life. A lawyer must also be ready to work under pressure. Yeah.
Sure.
You have a matter in court, and court sits 9 in the morning. So a lawyer is not the type that should go to court late, meaning that throughout the night you must have been busy studying, preparing for the case.
Yes.
So you in election petition, you walk around the clock because time is of the essence. So a lawyer must be hardworking. A lawyer must be capable of working under pressure. A lawyer is not a dullard. You understand? You must have that resilience. You must have that strong spirit to break through in life.
My barrister, can a lawyer engage in business? And if yes or no, how can a lawyer avoid Rule 7 of Rules of Professional Conduct?
Well, in fact, this I'll call it a rhetorical question, or let me say a leading question, because it presupposes that we even know that a lawyer is not supposed to do business.
Yes, true.
You get it?
True.
But that, be that as it may, the general rule is that a legal practitioner is exempted from the business of buying and selling. You get that in Rule 7 of the Rules of Professional Conduct, 2007. However, every rule is subject to some expectations, exceptions. One is that a lawyer can be a member of board of directors of a company. A lawyer can also be a secretary to the board of directors of a company or a general secretary. So while lawyers are not allowed to engage in business is because the law is a noble profession. You are not supposed to engage in banter, arguments. The Nigerian society, you understand?
Yes.
It reduces your integrity. You understand? And you now be in a rush because the rule in commercial world is that customers are always right.
Right.
So if customers are always right, it means that the lawyer is wrong. And we cannot be wrong. We cannot be wrong. So A lawyer can also engage in farming. Farming, yes, there's no restriction. You know, when we talk about farming, especially in Nigeria, people have a kind of misplaced version of what they're talking about. Food is one of the essential elements of life. So lawyers are allowed to go into farming. But for you to engage in the business of buying and selling, doing it yourself, no, 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 no. It's a legal anathema. You can't do that.
Apart from litigation as a lawyer, what other profiting means can a lawyer engage in the legal world?
Well, the field of law is so wide that virtually every aspect of our human life is regulated by law. I can't think of any human activity or endeavor that is not regulated by law. And so, a lawyer has a field day in the world. Okay, to be specific, apart from litigation, a lawyer can be a consultant to government and multinational companies. A lawyer can engage in corporate activities. You can register companies. You can be secretaries to public companies. One of the essential requirements for somebody to become a secretary of a public company is that you must be a legal practitioner. So you may not actually be practicing, but then the company has to employ you. A lawyer can also teach. You see the number of universities we have in Nigeria, both private, public, state, federal, you understand. So virtually every university has faculty of law. And so if you don't want to go into litigation, you can also engage in teaching. You get it? A lawyer can also, as I told you, be an advisor. Yes, you can be hired. Because I told you that there's nothing you can do in the world without law. And so for somebody to be guided on his actions, a lawyer has to be there. Okay, even in politics, you know that we have the legislature, and the legislatures are saddled with the responsibility of enacting laws. So legal drafting is necessary. So virtually every senator or an honorable member, be it National Assembly or State House Assembly, always have what we call legislative assistant, who is usually a lawyer for the purpose of drafting legislative bills that they can present on the floor of the parliament. So can't think of, it's only when you don't have knowledge of law that you'll be asking, what can a lawyer do? Because if we agree that every human activity is regulated by law, it means that wherever there is any human activity, a lawyer has to be there. A lawyer is relevant for things not to go wrong.
You know, in our world now, everybody, maybe they get caught to the bar, they feel the next thing for them is litigation. And if they cannot find a means through litigation, they feel that is the end for them. And that is why I brought up this question. And thank you.
Yes, is a parochial reasoning. It doesn't hold water. Is when you don't know what you haven't taught. In fact, upon graduation, you are like a charged tank. You are trying to explode because a lot of things, right from university to secondary school, university to law school, yes. You are exposed to different aspects of life into which you can fit. You can go into politics. Do you understand? You can enter police. If you become a police officer, become OC legal.
I even heard you can also become a chartered accountant also.
Why not? I said every aspect of human life is regulated by law. So a lawyer is relevant in every sector. It doesn't.
My barrister, do you feel the legal world is oversaturated, as many lawyers today complain of lack of jobs and legal services?
No, that's a fallacious assumption. It cannot be true. How can the world be saturated? What actually brings about that kind of reasoning is when people don't know the importance of law and do not want to engage the services of lawyers. Yes. In Western world, virtually every person has a medical doctor or a medical personnel attending to that very person. So by extension, even in Nigeria, it's expected, if things are normally done, that every human being must have a legal advisor. Because on a daily basis, you must do one or two things that have to relate to law. So if every human endeavor is regulated by law, how can the legal profession be saturated? So the reason why people feel that is that Nigerians believe in just what we call self-medication in medical world. I can do it alone. People buy land, they don't engage legal practitioners. But when they run into trouble, they will begin to
They
trace lawyers.
feel they know the law themselves.
Yes, they believe that I'm a professor. I can draft deed of assignment. I can draft a power of attorney. But you cannot draft that because it's a specialized form of writing. Well, it's only those who have received legal training that can do that. So the problem, why they think that is that a lot of people have come to, contest legal work with legal practitioners. So if government is able to regulate the operation of things in the country, that if you are not a legal practitioner, you cannot do this. Let every person be on his own area. Do you understand? Then the job of lawyers will be superfluous. You cannot measure that. Do you understand? If marriage is to be contracted, a lawyer has to be engaged to advise. That is a meal ticket for the lawyer. If land is to be sold, you have the vendor, you have the purchaser, and the lawyer is to advise on the applicable laws. A lawyer is to draft the legal instrument. Then that is a meal ticket. Okay, look at election petition. Every 4 years in Nigeria, there must be elections. Yes. At the end of the election, people go to court. Who are those who are going to determine the winner? Is it that the members of the bench or the members of the bar? That's the legal profession. In corporate world, for you to float a company, I'm not saying that is an exclusive reserve of legal practitioners, but there is an expert that a lawyer has to come in there. So another thing that causes that kind of assumption, fallacious as it is that a lot of people graduate as lawyers without knowing their onions. Yes, if you do well, the law work will be looking for you.
True. They will be looking for you.
The work will be looking for you. You get it? Look at Nigeria now. If you go to, with some of our learned silk, Femi Falana, Onyechi Bazu, so many of them. If you go there, you see that people are on queue trying to engage them, while other lawyers, nobody's consulting. So it is what you sow that you reap. Those people have devoted their time and have got the gist of the law. So if you know what you're doing, you cannot lack what you need. That's the answer.
This question is concerning the aspirants to the bar, as it is said that the law exam is the hardest professional exam in Africa. What is your advice to aspirants that are coming to law school on how they should pass their exam?
Well, I wouldn't succumb to that kind of assumption. It's not that the bar exam is the hardest. It's the cause of the situation is that law is regimented. You get it? The exam is nothing other than intellectual work. So you don't fight, you don't shoot gun in exam. You don't play football. It's still biro and paper. But what now makes it look the way people assume is that legal profession is organized. You don't cut shots. There's no half standard.
There is no shortcut.
There's no shortcut. You get that? Right from university, you get it. For you to be enrolled to study law in a university, you must have credit pass in English language, credit pass in literature.
Yes.
So from that, people are first of all removed.
Yes.
Then when you enter there, you are going to spend 5 years. While students in other disciplines will spend what? 4 years. That additional 1 year shows that you are in a serious business.
Yes.
Okay, when you eventually get admitted into the law school, I'm not saying this thing to disparage the Nigerian society, but the fact is that this issue of cutting corners, the thing is drastically reduced when it comes to law study.
So you feel they have
yes, if your father is a senator, if your father is a businessman, a business tycoon, you either do it or you get out.
True,
you get it? So some persons who have been used to the other side of life, when they come in and they want to employ that thing and the deal is not working, they'll begin to say that legal profession is.
So it is advisable for them to sit tight
right from the one. Right from the one, you have to warn yourself that you are into a serious. Can you see a soldier joking? A soldier will carry his rifle knowing that he's facing danger. So some persons, another thing that causes this kind of assumption is that law, you must have the passion. You must have the calling.
True,
you get it?
True.
So it's not all commerce affair. It's not every Dick and Harry that can enter there. You ask yourself, I want to be, who is a lawyer in the first place? Are you coming there to make money? Are you coming there to be called a lawyer? Do you understand? It's a profession. In the words of Professor Philip Umadi, as he then was, of University of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, there are 3 learned professions in the world, and in this order: law, medicine, and divinity. Law, medicine, and divinity. Others are mere vocations. So when you are coming to study law, you have to tell yourself that I'm going into a professional course. You don't just become a lawyer because you have passed the exam. Attitudinally, you must reflect that. The way you talk, the way you dress, where you go, what you do. So it's not just after being called to bar, no, I'm no longer, I've become a lawyer. No, it continues to follow you. So not every person is willing to, to be straight-jacketed. No. Some people want that kind of liberty. Yes. So from day one, you have to tell yourself that, just like going to be a reverend father, for instance, I'm a Catholic, you have to warn yourself that throughout my life, I'm not going to get married. So it's not what you enter and along the line, you now begin to see the other side. Yes. So why you have this kind of feeling is that those who were not properly guided or who did not warn themselves ab initio will come into the legal profession and will now begin to see the other side of life. They don't go together.
My barrister, I know law school always posts some students for externship under your law firm. And what has been the impact so far?
Well, the starting point is to underscore the importance of that externship. Why does it happen in the first place? Law involves both theory and practice.
Practical, yeah.
You get it? So they spend roughly 6 months in the university, in the law school, for the theory. They'll be going to class on a daily basis. They'll be exposed to the regimes of law. They'll study a lot of things. Then they will not have to be sent to the field for the practical aspect of it. Because a lawyer is a field player. True. Yes. True. You must be, a lawyer is an advocate. He should be able to engage the public. He should be able to go to court. He should be able to learn how to draft legal processes, instruments. Yes. He should be able to know how to file. Yes. So you don't get that in the classroom. Okay. So the rationale behind sending students on externship is for them to acquire the practical aspect of that legal profession. Do you understand? How do you file processes in court? How do you conduct a client's interview? Do you understand? How do you advocate in the court? So coming back to your question, year in, year out, law school post students to my office. So when I come in contact with them, I first of all let them know the reason why they're here. Some of them think that it's a kind of holiday. They have now left the academic incubator. It's now left for them to go and gallivant. No. I've now told them that you have kept the theoretical aspect. You are now. In fact, I will tell them that this one is more important. Yes, because it's just like trying to distinguish the impact of universities and the impact of polytechnics in the Nigerian educational sector. You are aware that somebody, or should be aware that somebody may become an engineer from Nigerian university, but he may not be able to fix knots. For instance, you're a mechanical engineer. You will not be able to repair vehicles. You will not be able to repair fridges and all these things. Yeah. But somebody who went to polytechnic on coming out, or even before he graduates, he will start doing those things. So you discover that law is involves both theory and practice. So no matter how sound you may be in the classroom, if you don't learn the practical aspect, you'll not be able to do well in the court. So the impact of that training is that I expose them to the essence of that very something. And I do everything within my disposal to ensure that they learn how to file processes, they learn how to move motions, they learn how to address the public. Do you understand? They learn how to conduct client interview. Because when you graduate as a lawyer, you'll be engaging clients who will be giving you one brief or the other. How do you interact? So those things are the things they acquire during the externship program, and I give it to them.
My barrister, after all you've said, can you entertain us with any legal magazine in law?
Wow, this one is it's funny. Some people believe that law is Latin, and because most of our languages are esoteric, we have kind of amplified languages that is not available to the understanding of a common man. So to entertain you with legal maxims, where do I start from? Virtually every aspect of law has one maximum or the other. Okay, on issue of land, we have a Latin maxim in property law, that is land, known as quic quid plantator, solo sedit. Yes. This is a Latin maxim which translates in English to mean that he who owns the land is also automatically owns whatever thing that is placed on that land.
Yes.
So, for instance, if you are the owner of this, if you establish that you are the owner of this particular floor, everything affixed
On your land.
belongs to you.
Belongs to
So nobody can come and say, let me now detach this chair because you are the owner.
That means if somebody built on your land,
Yes,
and you want to get the land back,
yes.
the person cannot demolish or
We call it
destroy the house.
quick quid plantato, solo
Solo.
sedate. He who owns the land owns what
Everything
is
in the
affixed,
land.
but it is subject to some exceptions. We have the exception known as laches and acquiescence. If you're aware that somebody is building on your land, do you understand? And you fail to warn the person
Yes.
so that you take advantage of that development, then equity will come in. Do you understand? So that is, we call it laches and what? Acquiescence. But if you are not aware and somebody goes to develop your property, then when you become aware, you are, as soon as you establish the ownership of that property, land in first place, you are not the owner of that property as well. We also have, in equity, we have the doctrine of res ipsa loquitur. Res ipsa loquitur. The fact speaks for itself. When something on the superficial value, when by mere looking at something, it is evidential itself. You don't need to add another evidence. Let me just use the issue of trying to ascertain whether somebody is the owner of, is the father, biological father of a child. If you look at the father and look at the child, maybe because of resemblance, the color, the frame, somebody can now say, my lord, there is a res ipsa loquitur. The fact is speaking for itself. We don't need to conduct DNA because looking at this one and looking at this child, every doubting Thomas will know that this is the father. You get that? And we also have the principle of nemo dat quod non habet. You cannot give what you don't have. Do you understand? Because if I empower you to do something, you act within the confines of that very power. You don't exceed. Delegatus non protest delegare. A delegate cannot delegate. You don't exceed the limit conferred. You act within the confines of the limits of your power. So a lot of is it becoming outdated? A lot of people are no longer interested in that. So,
It's necessary that you are able to refresh our memory and also teach us, for those people that are just learning, a new in and impact a new knowledge to us. I want to thank you, my barrister, for coming and for impacting us through this podcast, miss. Thank you very much.
Thank you for engaging me.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Well done.